I think Pakistan as a market is a very cheap market to get into things.
But it's actually easy because everything has a price.
You can do things without the price as well, right?
So do you regret that? Why not run 2 books? You'll be more profitable.
I think the idea was to build something big in Pakistan to showcase to the world. One of the biggest mistakes which investors made, most came into Pakistan for the FOMO reasons, right? And the other more important thing is that extra 10-15%,
right,
which most people do in Pakistan, the counter argument, that's probably one of the reasons that there has been no global player emerged from Pakistan.
Hello and welcome everyone to episode 58 of Digitales. My name is Faizan, founder and CEO of East River, and today I have with me a health technology entrepreneur who's built one of the biggest health technology platforms for e-commerce in Pakistan, Furquan Kidwai. Furquan is a graduate of Cambridge University and Imperial College. He's also a former investment banker. And he chose to give all of that up to come to Pakistan to set up this fantastic e-commerce business. How are you today, Furqan?
I'm very well, thank you very much. How are you?
So you moved back, you gave up the great Western life, you studied at the best colleges that the UK has to offer to dispatch medicines online in Pakistan.
That's right, that's correct. Right.
And are you enjoying it?
I am very much enjoying it. I think that's the best decision I made.
Really?
Yes.
Because a lot of people that I speak to, and I myself, like you, I moved back a few years earlier than you, but a lot of people I speak to, after a while, they say, yaar, galti ki wapas aake. Like, Pakistan's not an easy place to live. The challenges we face here are not the challenges of the Western world. But why are you so optimistic?
Interesting, right? So when I decided to come back to Pakistan, everyone thought I'm being a stupid person, right?
Yeah.
To the extent that I just stopped discussing with people. I only sent my resignation email and copied those in that, hey, I'm going now.
Okay.
And I remember a few curse words I got from people very close to me. You've done it, right?
Right.
So I came back, frankly, because I thought if I don't go back,
right,
it's easy to sit here and criticize, right, by fireside. So should attempt to do something about it.
Right.
And if it doesn't work out, you fail, you find. At least there are no regrets. So I came back thinking I want to go back and contribute to Pakistan.
Right.
So all the ills around us were actually something I did consider. Like, man, this is what I want to go and change.
Yeah.
So I didn't. If I had come with a hunky-dory sort of picture, I would have been very disappointed, right?
So you knew what you were stepping into?
I think I did.
Is it as bad as you thought it would be?
I think it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
What makes it better than what you thought?
I think people, and still people ask me, right, oh, how do you manage a business because there's so much corruption, so many bad things. It's actually not that bad.
It's not as corrupt.
Look, I don't. I
think
it's
corrupt. It's pretty corrupt.
Big statement to make. I think you have to sort of
be okay with corruption.
No, you have to compare that with other emerging markets, right? So corruption, people sitting in the West tend to think that Pakistan you can't operate. You just can't do anything because it's so corrupt, right? You can't do things.
But it's actually easy because everything has a price.
You can do things without the price as well, right?
How do you do that in Pakistan?
I think for us, right, particularly day one, I remember when we started buying medicine, we were the only organized buyer of medicine at the time. It was 8 years ago. And I remember fighting tooth and nail with the distributors, sort of sales guy coming and dispatcher effectively, that we wanted to deduct the whole day withholding tax.
Right.
1%, right?
Bilkul.
And they weren't used to it. वो check देना मसला होता था. They would say cash दो. मैं कहता नहीं दूंगा. I remember emailing the CEO of one of the large multinationals कि आपको distributor tax चोरी कर रहा है.
Right.
And now it's the norm, right? People take it for granted कि हम check से देंगे. हम private limited company है. We are audited by one of the largest auditing firms in the world.
Right.
कोई issue नहीं है. कोई corruption, कभी corruption उधर नहीं किया हमने किसी पैसे नहीं खिलाए. So you see, so people would have thought कि अभी कर नहीं सकते, जो perception है. तो इसलिए मैं कहता हूँ ऐसा बुरा नहीं. Company incorporate हो गई, बैंक अकाउंट खुल गया, बिजनेस शुरू हो गया, सब चीज़ above board है, कोई 2 books नहीं है, 1 book चलती है.
And in fact, in this business, everyone's running 2 books.
Retail business तो बहुत ही गंदा business है.
Retail and distribution, it's a 2-book
100%.
business. In fact, most of the books are black.
Exactly.
The white books are
तभी
just there.
हम बहुत rich नहीं हैं, औरों की तरह.
सही है. So do you regret that? Why not run 2 books? You'll be more profitable.
नहीं. So look, I think I wouldn't say that making profit is not the objective, because it is the objective.
Right.
I think the idea was to build something big in Pakistan to showcase to the world. Now, doing 2 books, making money in the short term, I don't think that will serve the purpose of why I came back, because I would not make enough or comparable to what I've made 10 years ago. No
But I
matter
mean,
how many
look,
books I run, right?
I'll flip it, right? I mean, I'll turn around and say, you know what? What if? Why not make money? And if it does, if every business in Pakistan is running 2 books, and if that is the way you're able to squeeze out that extra 10, 13%, depending on what tax you're saving, right? Why not take that and reinvest it in your people? You know, and it'll flow down to the employee level as additional income. It'll improve their lives by, let's say, 13%, because they'll get 13% more. You know, or invested in training, or invested in, you know, sort of technology. You know, why do you want to invest it into the government tax structure, which is probably yielding you zero returns?
Yeah. So I 100% agree that the government tax structure is pathetic. It does not yield anything to us. But if I were to go down and take the route which you did mention, there'll be many things, and I can actually elaborate upon those, which we won't be able to do because
Right.
we'll just have cash. For example, giving employee salaries, right?
Right.
We can't give anybody a cash salary for just the purpose of institutionalizing the thing. And the other more important thing, that extra 10-15%,
Right.
which most people do in Pakistan, the counter argument, that's probably one of the reasons that there has been no global player emerged from Pakistan.
Right.
Because you're always following the 10-15%.
Absolutely.
If you actually put that back and make it all white, I think the world becomes an oyster if you have a differentiated product, right?
Right.
People just don't, because it's a short-term gain, right?
And I also think that, you know, when you're running a single clean book, it also attracts investors. Any investor that's going to come and help you sort of, you know, expand your business rapidly. You know, they want the confidence that it was one book, everything's above board, it's clear, it's visible. You know, and only then they're like, okay, here's my money, go expand your business, go into regional markets. There is no multinational that has come out of Pakistan. There's no Pakistani, true global Pakistani multinational.
100%, right? I give the example why there are no Tatas out of Pakistan, why there are no Infosys out of Pakistan.
I think that's because of the private, what was it, when the government took over the private businesses, kya hua tha wo 70s mein?
70s mein nationalization.
Nationalization.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason. Nationalization ke baad se everyone's very scared. No one wants to build a big business here.
Yeah, but I think I don't think that's the case, right? I think people are not scared. I think that there's almost 2 generations gap now. It's 50 years ago that happened, right? So 25 is the average one generation, so almost 2 generations have passed. So
True.
I think the issue is what you asked me, the why don't I run 2 books, right? It's very attractive to make the extra 13%, pocket it myself.
Right.
Give 3% to my employee base, 10% in my pocket, I'll become a certainly very rich man. And I think most people are just following that, thinking, you know what, and probably as a result, I think the trickle-down effect of companies going big, global, and the impact on human resource more than just the economic impact, the human resource development is not happening in the country.
Makes sense.
And that's where I feel that if we can at least attempt to do that and bring a change about.
And you really did make a change. I think a lot of people benefited from your platform, Dawaai.pk, during COVID. And you saw a huge surge in your online orders and your online transactions. Has that surge maintained, or have you seen it fall and then plateau? Like, how has that COVID bump played out so far?
So COVID bump played out fairly decently, and I tell you in what. Of course, if you say the sales remain at that elevated level, no, it did come down and plateaued out, like for any business.
Back down to the old levels?
No, much higher than the old level, right? So it came down 20%, for example, from the peak COVID level on a quarter-on-quarter basis, for example, right?
Got it.
But what COVID did was the enhance and sort of hasten the adoption of digital sort of methods for transacting. Right?
So people became more comfortable.
People became more comfortable, became more sort of used to this, became the norm.
Right.
So I think the customer acquisition costs or CAC, which in our parlance we call, that cheapened up.
How much did that go down by for you?
I think for us that went down by almost 85-90%.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's a huge drop.
Exactly. So we have less than, I think, 100 rupee CAC for a very long period, and I think for the last 6 months our CAC is 0 effectively. And
that's
CAC
insane.
is one of the things.
Yeah, that's drive. I mean, and how did your average order value change? If your CAC went down, let's say 80-90%, did the average order value go up?
No, obviously, look, we're in the medicine business, right? The people, no matter how much I advertise, how funny, sexy, or sort of cute I look, people are not going to buy medicine unless they really have to. Doctors prescribe the medicine. Yep. So our CAC are sort of AOVs, our AOVs, our LTVs, they remain pretty much constant based on the general sort of disease levels in the population and what sort of prescribed to them.
Got it. So basically, you're unable to grow the top line, let's say average order top line. You can increase your market share, you can increase the customer base, but the real margin for you comes from your cost structure, which is the buying of the medicines and the customer acquisition cost.
Correct, right? So it's like a commodity sales business, the pharma sales business, right? So in a commodity sales business, your margins are very thin to play with. So it's like a classic FMCG retail business, which we are in. So our effectively our margins come from the ROIC perspective, return on invested capital.
Right.
If you can leverage that up.
Yep.
And sort of your smarter turnover of inventory, right, within the same cost base. So that's where your operating leverage is. And then, of course, with the longevity of the business, the trust of the people, we sell a lot more of additional services to people now.
So what else are you selling in addition to business? Medicines.
Yeah, so we do a lot. We evolved into a managed care platform now, right? So we are not just a pharmacy. People come to us for consultations. They come to us for their diagnostics. They come to us for disease management, right? They sign up if they are a diabetic patient. They sign up if they're a hypertensive patient. They pay a subscription for that, right? Because they know they can get 24/7 help.
Right.
There's a dedicated care coordinator. So most chronic patients within these subdomains, they end up signing up with us because the value proposition is there, and that's pretty much driven by the trust factor, right? It's been 8-year-old business.
Right.
Healthcare is a trust business that kind of drives.
And how many patients do you see like this on a monthly basis?
So we have a total user base is 17 million on the platform, right?
Wow, 17 million uniques have transacted on your platform.
That's right.
That's a big number.
Yeah. And if I look at a monthly basis, about 2 million people on a monthly basis.
2 million people are actually creating a transaction.
Yeah, either they're consulting a doctor, talking to our nurse, buying medicines, comparing pricing on drugs, because we make it transparent between.
Of the 2 million, how many, let's say, actual baskets do you serve? Let's say orders or checkouts.
So checkouts of what? If you're talking about medicines checkout, that will be about like 4%, right?
4% of the 2 million. Right. And then of the and what about the consultations?
The consultation is a separate. It's not like a link that out of that 4%, a certain percentage does consultation, right? So we do close to like 1,500 to 2,000 consults on average a day. So that makes us one of the largest sort of hospital without being a hospital.
Why don't you sell yourself to a physical hospital or partner up with one?
Look, I think partnering up we are always open to, right? Selling, I think it'll be short selling. But more importantly, I think that has the ecosystem, I think hasn't really evolved. And I don't mean tech ecosystem, the business ecosystem hasn't evolved to an extent where people become secure in their businesses, right? So if I talk to more traditional businesses, they're like, ye aapka hai, ye mera hai.
Right.
Our view is I can never go and replace a physical hospital.
Right.
That's true. I can never do surgeries online, right?
Diagnostics, surgeries, exactly. That's the key
I can't run a CBC test on the internet, right? There has to be a physical need for that. What I do offer is a large enough platform where patients interact with us. Now, if someone can plug into that and benefit, why not? That evolution in traditional businesses is actually very guarded and barriered, right? Where people feel that's my data, when actually, funny enough, none of the hospitals actually have data.
They have no data.
Or if they have data, they just file somewhere lying around, right? That's the data.
Absolutely true.
So
this is an e-commerce business. It's a tech business. Every market, everyone's looking to pass the hot potato really quickly, and within 3 to 5 years is looking to exit. You've been doing this. You started this in 2014. You moved back permanently in 2017. So this has been an 8-year journey for you so far. And what's your exit strategy for this?
So I never came and started doing this with an exit strategy, right? The idea was to build an institution which outlasts me.
Right.
So for me, the success would be when the business says, you sit at home, go play golf, read your own book. We don't want you to come to office, right?
Right.
That I feel that I've succeeded, right?
So you don't want to exit. Your exit is golf.
My exit is golf, pretty much, right? So
chairman of the board in golf.
That's right. Not even chairman. If I'm the board, that's fine, right?
Oh, so just literally a passive shareholder.
Just passive shareholder. If I can create an institution,
right?
So which I feel that we are partially successful,
right?
And of course, there's a long way to go before I can actually just be playing golf. Right?
Interesting. And so you've gotten exposure to the e-commerce sector, and right now the e-commerce sector in Pakistan has generated a bit of a bad rap. We've seen a couple of platforms come on with a lot of noise and then implode. Do you think that Pakistan has e-commerce potential? And I ask this because there are some fundamental basics that are missing. First of all, our GDP per capita is approximately $1,500. That's very low. It's probably one of the lowest in the region and globally, obviously. We have payment issues. significant payment issues locally. There are no proper digital payment gateways that are easy to transact through. Our credit card penetration is extremely low. Cash on delivery is still the preferred method. There's a lot of leakages in cash on delivery. And more importantly, if let's say a foreign player is coming into Pakistan to help scale a local business, how are they going to get their money out? State Bank has created so many restrictions, rightfully so, given our balance of payments problem, for money to be sent overseas. So to me, I think it's a terrible market to invest in, based on just these factors. Do you see it differently?
I see it differently, right? I think, look, there are two aspects to it. A, business have to be seen through the cycles, right? Right now, we're in probably one of the worst cycles ever for the country, hence what we discussed. I generally found, at least the thinking at the state bank's level has been quite positive. On paper, there's a free flow of capital, right? In and out, both words. I think, A, that's one thing. The other thing is, investors coming in today, they're probably looking at 7, 8, 9 years for the
That's a long duration.
for the exit strategy.
Right.
Anyone coming with a 3 to 5 year exit plan, I think is not going to happen, right? It's not a very mature market. Even in mature markets, that doesn't happen. As seldom as people would think. But to be in Pakistan and any emerging markets, a much longer term play. So you want investors who are playing a long term game. More importantly, I think there's no dearth of capital, both local and international, right? Of course, in this cycle, people want to hedge their bets a bit and lie a bit low. I think 2023, that dry powder will start getting to invested. Whether it will get invested in Pakistan is a question to be seen. I don't think so. It's going to be as sort of mushy as it was last year.
Right.
But I think one of the biggest mistakes which investors made, most came into Pakistan for the FOMO reasons, right? Or because excess liquidity, search for yield, Pakistan is probably the last bastion is going to happen. So in my opinion, they invested in the wrong entrepreneurs. So I do some angel investing locally as well.
So you're saying the investors backed the wrong entrepreneurs?
I would say investors backed the entrepreneurs whose motivations were a bit different from the business cycles a normal emerging market would go through.
So what does that mean? What was their motivation?
Yeah, I think investors. So look, I've been through a few pitches, right, where I've been on the receiving end of these pitches, and I always felt that the entrepreneur was pitching the idea is going to be a unicorn in 2 years or 3 years, right? Now let's be real about it. Now, if I'm an investor, at least that's how I look at it.
Right.
The businesses are built for much longer, right? Quick flips do work in great cycles, but if we are at the beginning of the cycle, not towards the end of the cycle. Someone coming saying I'm going to make a unicorn within 2 years is obviously sort of pointing me towards a quick flip, right? As an investor, do I want to bite the quick flip in a market like Pakistan, which is just getting started? I think that was one of the reasons where investment came in. I think also there was more to the headlines than the actual substance to it as well, right?
What does that mean?
I think the numbers quoted out in the market by the big names were probably not the numbers which would sort of commiserate with the names.
But you would think that the kind of people that were investing in these big names would have done their due diligence, would have had the right kind of audit structure in place. How could they have been duped by these entrepreneurs?
No. When I mean the big names investing, I mean the big name investors, right? I think the quantum they deployed was much smaller.
So they didn't really care about them.
Exactly.
So they're like a chota amount hai chhod do.
Exactly, because you see a lot of these big name like investment funds or whatnot, right? They also have scout money to be kept, right? Because they need to keep the younger sort of team members engaged, right? So giving a free scout rein that helps them sort of develop the talent as well, right? So that was getting deployed as well in the market. Now where you don't really care, and I think the cost of due diligence is a lot more than that. And also you have to understand in this low interest rate environment which was there for almost a decade. I think there was too much free money out there which was looking to be deployed very, very quickly. So the diligence level were much sort of shorter. And also I think in venture space, generally diligence is more about forward looking, right? So it's more about where the entrepreneur's vision is, how he sees the market, do I bite the bullet or not, right? I think that in probably in the West where the social contract was a lot stronger, right? Here, I think we can question that, right? As we discussed before the interview. I think that's where sort of things went sort of pretty wrong. But also I do think that's part of the evolving ecosystem, right? I don't think there'll be many ecosystems out there that started off without any failure and they just banked.
Of course.
Thing. So it's probably part of it. It's a way to, I think it's a good thing for the country.
So it's a good thing we went through this.
We had to go through at some point, right?
At some point we had to.
So theek hai, jitna jaldi itna better, right?
And it's good that it was timed with the rest of the world, where the world is going through a bit of an economic slump post-COVID. Because you also have to keep in mind, in COVID, a lot of governments pumped money. and propped economies and put money back in the pockets of individuals. Individuals then had free cash because they were sitting home, their entertainment expenses were low, transport expenses were low, but they were still doing work and earning a salary. So there was a lot of free cash in the system, and that explains that entire crypto space and the way that rode up, and now that's blown up too.
Correct, right.
So it makes sense, but you feel that a market like Pakistan to you is a 7 to 10 year horizon market. Otherwise, you should not be in this place.
I think so. I think, but that's not Pakistan. Any emerging market. Any emerging market, right?
If you had to bet on an emerging market right now, which one would you bet on?
Look, I think I'll be biased, right? So I don't think I'm the right person to answer.
If you looked at pure numbers, I mean, you're a numbers guy. You've been a banker. You've got, what is it? Financial mathematics is your MSc.
Yeah.
So just based on numbers, without bias,
yeah.
Which is the best emerging market today?
I think I haven't really looked at any market beyond Pakistan, if I'm being honest about it, right? So I don't think, I think from value for money perspective, I think Pakistan as a market is a very cheap market to get into. And I think that what sort of sometimes amazes me for the companies going belly up with the amount of capital they claimed or the real capital they raised. I think that was obnoxiously high, right? That number, because in Pakistan, with for example $1 million, you can go a very long way. Because it's a cheap market.
Way. That's 25 crores almost.
That's 25 crore, right? You can go a very long way.
Yeah.
Someone's saying that, you know what, it's just peanuts for me.
Yeah. Doesn't understand.
I think that's far away from reality. And having done for 8 years, I can tell you $1 million can last a very, very long time.
Yeah.
If you are being honest about it. I won't even say diligent, I would just say if you're honest about it.
Fair enough.
So I think it's a very cheap market to go. And look, I think the way I look at it, I still do angel investments in the market.
Right.
And this is, and in a, sort of a company I recently invested into, a healthcare dentistry company, more traditional offline space.
Right.
My view has been, look, this country has 200 million people. I know this is an old soul story, but in Karachi, if not too far from here in Shiri Jinnah colony, right, probably a couple of million people live there, right?
Right.
Any business, I'm not going into details of business. If there are 200,000 people, you can target, right? And you can just find a way to charge them $1 a year. 200 rupees a year, right? For any service which is worth a lot more. That really gets you close to $500,000 worth of revenue a year. Now, $500,000 worth of revenue in Pakistan is a lot of money.
Yeah.
We all know that,
yeah.
right? So I think from that perspective, we're not in some small Middle Eastern country with a total population of 3 million people where we think, you know what would I do?
But their GDP per capita is so high, they'd be able to spend a lot more.
Yeah, you see, the GDP per capita numbers are sort of, I think, very, very biased, right? Because of the oil income coming to the country, which is getting distributed. And of course, the numbers are much higher, right? But I think if you really play the law of large numbers, right? It's a poor country, no doubt, right? Out of 200 million people, probably 10 million people would be the ones who will actually be paying you the ones in the numbers you think they should be paying. But I'm saying the remaining 200,000 people, 100,000 people, if you can just find a way to charge them 200 rupees, right? You make a significantly large business. 10 crore rupees ka saal ka business ban jata hai uske saath.
That's not a bad business for Pakistan. And even if you're taking 10% off of that, that's close to $1 million a month.
Crore rupees saal ke million a month, right?
Yeah.
Anyone saying million a month is not good enough.
Yeah.
I think there's a problem there, right?
And so, I'm going to touch on one last thing before we wind up. Do you really believe, I have this debate with a lot of friends of mine. Everyone says that the headline number, 220 million people, Pakistan's so big. Do you believe that Pakistan should be looked at as a country of 220 million people, or is it a country of, let's say, 80 million 4G subscribers? And the reason I say that is because if you have 4G, you have a little bit of disposable income to apply towards something that adds value to your life, that is, not essential. Well, it's essential in today's day and age, technically. But a person who has a 4G data subscription, and of that, daily active users of that is, let's say, 40 million people who use 4G every day. So is it that 200 million people that we should look at? Is it the 80 million 4G subscribers? Is it the 40 million daily active users? Is it the 50 million YouTube watchers? Is it the 40-something million Facebook accounts? What is the population that someone should say, this is the target demographic that I need to consider when I enter the digital, let's say, universe of business, whether it's e-commerce or digital subscriptions or whatever, in your mind? I
think it's a function of what business you have, right? I think digital or technology in my sort of head is means to an end. It's not the end, right? So you have to really make the most optimal use of technology as opposed to just being a technology business. Now, depending on the use case, you can target the appropriate sort of user base and then say what is the actual TAM or addressable market.
Right.
In my opinion, the country with 220 or 250 million people, whatever that number, it's a very large number. Right?
It is.
A very small subset of that, no matter how small that is still substantial, much bigger than many of the globally large cities, right?
Right, that's
if you
true.
can just target that for $0.50 or $1 a year,
Right.
I come back to my original point, right? Those numbers are enormously large
Right.
with the cost base of where we are, right? An average person making 20,000 rupees
Right.
a year, probably less than that, right? The official is
Right.
25,000 and less than a year. That's about $250 per month, right? That's
Yeah.
nothing, right? That's absolutely nothing. So you can actually create a very profitable business for a very small sum of money, targeting a very small subset of the audience in Pakistan, which is potentially available.
Interesting. And so, any entrepreneur, anyone in college looking to get into business in Pakistan, let's say in this space, one thing you would say to them?
Persevere, right? And come with conviction. There's no quick win. Don't come
There's
with...
no unicorn.
Look, I think unicorn has always been a function of, even globally, right?
Right.
That too much money chasing too few assets. The
Right.
asset price bubble, right?
Right.
That unicorn. So I think unicorn was, I think, taken up the wrong way where it should have been taken.
So don't
right?
focus on that. Focus on the perseverance.
Focus on that. Build a profitable business, right? Invest in that business and grow that profitability, right? I think
Right.
the compounding impact of that 13% you mentioned initially, if you do the right way, the compounding impact of 13% will be much bigger than one could fathom. Have a big vision, persevere. It's not going to be easy market, but it'll be probably one of the most rewarding markets if someone actually sticks around.
Amazing. Furquan, thank you so much for the time. This was a great chat. Loved it. Best of luck on the journey ahead. It's only been, 8 years for you. So you're in that sweet spot of, the business maturing. And I think you guys have built something fantastic that really served the people during their time of need in COVID. And may that serve you going forward.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned for more episodes in person next week. Bye-bye.